Let's start with the feet shoulder width apart, and let's just take some double shoulder rolls going all the way up and backwards, trying to just lengthen the spine as we're doing this. And then let's move into single backwards shoulder rolls. So a bit of rotation around the waist, maybe some clunking and crunching going on. That's absolutely fine, perfectly normal. Then let's place the hands on the shoulders to take double elbow circles. So all the way up, round, down and back. And as I'm doing this, I'm trying to just shift the rib cage forwards and backwards. Probably there is no other time in your week when you move like this. So just feel free to just go to the edges. Go to the edges of your movement with all of these movements. Be nice and relaxed. You don't have to push it or force it, but just go a little bit further than where is completely comfortable. Then we've got double whole arm circles. And for this, I'm just letting my elbows be really relaxed and soft. If that's too much for your shoulder, or you're just not ready, don't feel warmed up enough for that, come back to some of these. Maybe just keep your arms even more bent. And then that's going to take us into, I'm going to step forwards a little bit so I don't hit the wall behind me, into some loose swimming, as I call this. So we've got our backstroke movement here, rotating around the spine. And now in contrast, I'm allowing my hips and my ankles to go with those shoulders. So this is all backwards, and then we're going to come forwards. And all of these movements should just get you nice and warm and a little bit breathless maybe. It's quite fascinating for me how just taking those shoulder rolls get you all nice and warm. If at any stage you feel like stretching your neck out because you've got all tight around the back of the neck, feel free to do that. Otherwise we're going to move into some loose bow and arrow. I'm going to turn sideways to the camera and I'm reaching my arms forwards, and I'm going to draw this hand along the inside of my arm, take it across my chest, follow it with my head and look behind me. When you're in this position, you want both hands, hopefully you're mirroring me, you want both hands facing the same wall or the same side. And in order to get to this nice lengthened position, I've let the shoulders open up, the hip open up, the ankles rotate. And then I'm going to bring that back hand round so it's forwards. As you do on the other side, reach the arm that stays in front of you, reach it forwards. Take the hand underneath the chest, underneath the chin even, across the chest, look behind you and then bring it round to square. So shoulders are square, I'm opening out, reaching forwards with that front arm, looking behind me and then squaring up again, reach forwards. It's a great big bow and arrow, but it's nice and loose and flowing. Don't get stuck. Standing up tall so that you mobilise that spine. Let's make that the last one. Good job coming back to the front. Make my arms, shoulders hurt a little bit then. Okay, so feet are wide. Slightly wider than shoulder width apart. Nice and parallel. Reaching the arms up to the ceiling for some big swings. So as these are all our first movements, you can just start quite gently. Just stay fairly upright if you want to. Let the arms relax. As you get more confident with it and you realise that nothing is going to fall off, hopefully, and any aches and pains, just start to gradually ease off. Go a little bit bigger, a little bit deeper, into the knee bends, into those ankle bends, always making sure though that your knees are tracking over your toes. Stick your bottom out behind you, let your head hang, let the hair flow, and let's add a rise and a balance onto this. So I'm coming up, really nice straight legs, lifting up onto my balls of my feet, my heels as high as they can be. I'm thinking about my big toe joint. Shoulders are down, whoopsie, losing my balance a little bit. And then I'm going to lower the heels and go again. Come out of the big swing, straighten the legs, and then rise up. If you try and throw yourself into it straight away, you'll probably fall off of balance. Think about these ankles. Try not to let them collapse out towards that little toe side. Let's have 2 more of these. And the last one, I was doing a class this morning from this ballet dancer that I follow, and she does all of her balances. You're up on a rise, then she asks you to close your eyes. There's another rhyme, so I'm going to try. Oh yeah. Really, woo, quite challenging. And it's funny how you fall off the floor when you've got your eyes closed, but it's a really nice way to check the balance. Good job. Okay, really big swings. Let's take some reaches up. Trying to touch the ceiling, looking up. Just about 4 of these. Hold both arms up, stay looking up, make sure that weight is pitched forwards on the balls of your feet so you can tap both heels, and then allow the arms to drop, allow the eye line to lower, but you've got this lovely length in the spine. Most importantly, we've lifted the rib cage off of the hips so that now we can start to take some side bends. So you could have your hands down by your side. That might be as far as you want to go with those today. You could bring your fingertips to your temples, elbows at the side. I would just encourage you, as I said, on the big swings, just try and get a little bit bigger and a little bit more relaxed with the movement as you go. But if something really feels uncomfortable, then just stay there. Last one I'm going to do is just clasp my hands, push my hands up and away, and then I'm going over from side to side. This is much stronger, much more of a stretch down the side of my back. Make sure you're breathing, most importantly, no holding that breath. And then I'm just going to take a very relaxed, I'm not actually going to clasp my hands, my fingers together, I'm just going to put my hands at the back of my head. They're loosely clasped actually, but I'm going to keep the elbows quite wide. I'm going to take a relaxed upper body roll around. So even though we're not trying to keep those elbows forwards and we're really fixing that upper body position, I am fixing it, it's just a bit more relaxed. The elbows are out to the side. I'm still thinking about creasing, folding around the ribs, and this might be an alternative for you. If you don't want to put your hands at the back of the head, just think of that upper body. It's this movement around the ribs in the centre, and again, just nice and relaxed. Great, let's take some sumo squats. I'm going to go sideways again. My feet are as wide as they just were. I've slightly turned my legs out, just to the corners slightly in the hip socket, and then I'm going to stick my bottom out and come into this nice, comfortable, braced position that I call the sumo squat, and then come up again. If I just face forwards to do them with you. So I'm looking for perfect symmetry in the mirror. Another reason I call it the sumo squat is when you're down here, you can lift one leg up and then the other leg. That's the sort of reference for the sumo squat. But it's also that position, that's that braced, strong position. You're ready to just go off in any direction, the international ready position, as someone else called it. So just standing and coming into that squat. And then let's add to that movement our chest and back lift. So lifting the chest does what it says on the tin. Come through your sumo squat so that you can brace on the legs. Relax, unravel, head hangs down last. Make sure it's hanging, nod the head, shake the head. Then we've got the back lift, that upper back leads the lift to come up. Here's your first strong tuck under, pull that belly button in, push the pubic bone forwards, and then really nicely unravel. It should feel really strong and secure, unraveling your spine as you come up. And it will feel like you're just sort of stretching out the whole spine, mobilising it. What an amazing piece of machinery our bodies are. how adaptable all of this wonderful movement that we have. And you don't want to lose it. Raking, let's have one more. Lift the chest, stick the bottom out, relax all the way down, and then round to come up. Great job. Okay, some slow pony trots. So let's just start with rising up onto the balls of the feet, pushing one heel down. As I do this, I'm just bending over my toes. So pushing the ball of my foot, if you like, into the floor. So getting a nice stretch underneath my instep. Thinking about overall good posture from the front. Watching your alignment, knees over ankles over toes. No allowing that ankle to drop. Let's add a knee bend to this. So you're going to go up onto your toes, lowering through a straight leg, then bending that knee. Remembering to bend the knee as much as you personally can and keep that heel down. No change in that upper body. Up to the top, lower the heel, bend the knee. To the top, lower the heel, bend the knee. So this provides lots of new challenges. Especially for the alignment of your hips, knees, ankles, mainly on the leg that you're standing on. The other one is just there. It's not you're not really focusing on that one. So if you can see yourself in the mirror, check that your hips don't change in alignment. Watch this knee doesn't roll in. If the knee's rolling in, the ankle has probably collapsed as well. Try not to let that happen. The ankle is nice and strong as you're up on the toes, equally weighted between the big toe joint and the little toe joint. And then let's pop the toes and roll all the way through. So I'm just going to turn sideways. I call these slow pony trots. See if you can go through that straight leg position each time. I'm not too worried about my balance. I don't want to restrict the movement. I want to sort of make it all stretchy and gooey. I think my thumbnail for the class on Monday was me going like this, which looked a bit weird, but that's what I'm trying to get you to do. This is what I mean by moving more than you would do in a regular class or just every day. So let's think about that as well, and let's take some foot fists and hand fists. So standing on your weaker leg if you can, if you know which one it is, it'll be the one that you don't naturally stand on first. Lifting the leg up slightly and just scrunching your toes over. If I turn that leg out, trying to make a sort of banana shape with my foot. I'm not extending the ankle, so I'm keeping the ankle flexed, or the foot flexed, the ankle flexed I guess, and then I'm lifting the toes up. I'm trying to spread the toes apart. I'm going to keep my hips and shoulders facing square. So I'm making a fist and then I'm stretching everything out. Making a fist, stretching everything out. So it's the toes curling over and then the toes lifting and spreading apart. They might not really move at all, but that's absolutely fine. Do what you can. Then let's try and do the same thing with your hands. So when your toes are lifted, your hands are going to make a fist, and then when your toes are scrunched in the fist, you're going to stretch your fingers and thumbs far apart and then alternate. Have to really concentrate on this one. Good. One more, stretching apart. Keep the foot in a fist, and you're going to circle the foot in the fist from the ankle, and you're going to circle your hands, but your fingers all twiddling at the same time, from your wrists. Same direction, all three parts, and then change. Ooh, change direction. I don't know what I did there, but change direction with your feet and your hands, trying to stand up nice and tall. It's all quite challenging. And then if you need to, it wasn't too bad for me today, just roll that foot out. And especially if you get cramp, this is a good thing to do. It's a nice thing to do anyway, when you've been working the feet like that, waking up all those muscles underneath the feet. It's really good to sort of roll it out. Imagine you're kneading, you're rolling out pastry. I'm sure some of you are doing a lot of baking at the moment. So standing on the other leg, let's go for the foot fist and then the lifting the toes and trying to stretch them apart. So you might find that one foot is better at this than the other. We're not symmetrical. This is our battle all the way through Pilates, general life. Life isn't symmetrical, unfortunately. So scrunching over, lifting and trying to separate those toes. Adding, so I'm going to take a scrunch, I'm going to take a fist with my foot and I'm going to stretch my hands apart, fingers and thumbs apart, and then reverse or alternate, swapping which one is doing which. Checking that my shoulders and hips are nice and square. Standing leg is straight as well. Practicing standing on a straight leg. It's all good stuff. It's all good work. Building the endurance. And let's stay with that scrunched foot. And a little bit tight on this side. Circling round at the ankles, circling round at the wrist. As far as you can go, trying to, so I've cramped up too much. But trying to maintain that fist with the foot, going in the opposite direction. So your tendency will be at some point in the circle to want to release those toes. Try and keep it all scrunched up. And, that was much stronger on that side, much tougher on that side. For some reason. And then here, again, look at all that wonderful mobility in that ankle, the toes. Amazing. Use it. Get your body used to it. It's okay. This is what it's there. It's there to be used. It's available to you. We just want to keep it nice and strong. Good. Okay. Foot and so let's take some mini hip hinges. So feet parallel, insteps in line with each other, big toes on the same line. We're going to take a mini hip hinge, which is just sending your bottom back as if you're trying to touch the wall. If you are near a wall, I would line myself up, and I get my clients to do this all the time, about 6-8 inches away from the wall, and you just practice this movement of sending the bottom back. Sending the bottom back just to touch the wall. I'm not leaning on it, I'm not leaning back, and then holding that there, maybe holding that there. And it should feel relatively easy. So the hinge comes from here, you've braced everything is switched on, just gently. It doesn't need to be, you're not working really hard, but it shouldn't hurt your back at all. So this movement is the absolute foundation for our squat work when we want to send the bottom back, when we want to keep the spine in its neutral curve. So I'm just going to turn sideways, but my feet are basically in the same position. So we've got the hip hinge at the beginning and the end of the squat, and then we're bending the knees. Knees are over the toes. I'm reaching my arms forwards as a counterbalance and then coming up. So now just joining in, ankles and knees, more hinge at the hip. Otherwise, there's no change in the back. Arms are reaching forwards, but I'm keeping this shoulder back. I'm not allowing that to happen. I'm not overreaching forwards. I've got these shoulder blades drawn down in my back. So let's just build a bit of stamina for there. Stay down if you can. Turn your palms down to the floor, and we're going to take backstroke arms. So one arm comes up, the other arm comes down by your side. This top arm up by your ear if you can, but don't worry if that's too high. And then we're swapping. Try not to take the lower arm too far back because it will tip this shoulder forwards. You want the shoulder drawn down, so just stop at the side of your hip. And if it makes you, if you end up going sort of here to get this arm up by your ear. There's another rhyme. Oh, I'm good on the rhymes today. Then don't take it quite so low. So for me, my shoulders I don't feel like I can get that arm up too high today. But just testing it out. Think about the sides of your waist. There's no shortening, there's no change, there's no hips shifting from side to side. Strong work in the legs. Quads are feeling it. Lower back might be feeling it a little bit as well. Let's take another 4 and 3 and 2 and 1 and coming up. Good job. Give those legs a bit of a shake. Brilliant. Okay, so we are going into a strong section with work on the glutes and the standing leg. It's going to combine all of those things that we've done so far. So I'm going to face this way. We're going to stay on one leg. I'm starting on my weaker leg. The movement is this. I want you to stand on one leg, lift the other leg into a knee fold. Your standing leg is nice and straight. The focus is on your standing leg all the way through. And then I'm going to hinge from my hips. I'm going to bend this knee. I'm going to take the moving leg back behind me so that I've got this nice diagonal line from the crown of my head through my shoulder, through my hip to that back heel. I can see in the mirror that I'm in a really nice diagonal line. I'm going to stay facing this way rather than go sideways on for you. So my focus is straight standing leg, tissue box square, bend the standing leg and hinge at the hip. Don't be here. Don't have that bottom stuck out because that's not a straight line, that's a kinked line. Drop those hips down by bending, whoopsie, no balance today. Bend this knee and then fully straighten it. So your work, where you're feeling it, should be on this standing leg. And I've already done some quite strong work in this area today, so this is going to really hurt tonight. I've just placed my fingertips on my hips, but you could place one hand in front of your tummy, one hand in your lower back. I'm checking, I'm feeling that there's no change in so right now I'm feeling that there's no change in my spine whatsoever. There's no change, so as I go forwards, there's no rounding, there's no opening up of these vertebrae, nothing has changed. I'm staying strong, staying connected at the front. My standing leg is really starting to hurt now. If you're here, you're heightening your awareness of these hips, staying square to your front. When you take this leg back, and especially when we do what we're going to do in a minute, this hip wants to open up, absolutely square. Shoulders, hips, tissue box, rectangle, square to your front. I'm going to do 3 more. Whoo. Fully straightening, fully bending, fully straightening, fully bending. 1 more allied, fully straightening, fully bending. We're staying here. I'm going to keep my hands, fingertips on my hips. I'm going to lift and lower that back leg. Whoo. No change. Back of the neck nice and long. Oh my. And breathing. I'm going to lower that back leg. I'm going to stay pitched forwards. I'm going to rotate just my shoulders around and square and opening out and square and round. So opposite shoulder to that front knee, square, opening out in the opposite direction. That's where this hip, that back leg hip will want to join in. Don't know how many of these I did. I'm going to do 1 more. I think I did 4 full sets. Oh. Breathe. Ooh, I think I might just open my window. There, that's better. So we're going to stretch this leg out. But for me personally, that's really cramped up. I was working really hard there. Like I say, I was already doing some stuff earlier today, which was tough, which similar movement pattern. So I've already worked the muscles. So you just need to listen to your body a little bit. So let's take a nice figure of 4 stretch to stretch that out. So the leg that you were standing on, the one that should be hurting the most, cross that ankle just above your knee. Let the knee drop out to the side, and then sort of sit down like you're sitting down on a high stool. And for me, that's already quite a strong stretch. I've just got my hand on the windowsill here, but just lightly on the wall or the kitchen worktop or the back of a chair or whatever. You can do it by balancing, but you're going to be focusing too much on trying to balance. It's quite an awkward position, rather than the actual stretch. It's the stretch that we want. So I'm going to deepen it a little bit more by bending my knees a bit more, sticking my bottom out, actually literally sticking my bottom out behind me, but not coming here. In fact, if you do that, if you try that, if you let your back round and collapse, the stretch goes away pretty much. So if you don't like the stretch, then do this. If you want to actually get an effective stretch, keep your chest lifted, stick your bottom out, bend your knee more, and breathe. Whew. Okay, well done. Good, so we're going to forget all about that side because we're going to be working on the other leg for a moment. So I'm going to turn sideways on and face my other corner. So all on the other side. So remember, your focus is straight leg and bent leg. Just find where that tipping point is for you. So balance is probably going to be worse. My excuse is I'm half on and half off my mat, so I'm going to turn my mat this way. In fact, I'm going to put my mat there. If you've got a yoga mat, it's probably a really good idea to just keep moving it around. I know for myself doing these classes, it's sometimes people say, "Oh, do the left leg," and then you end up you're facing away from the camera and you can't see what's going on. So just feel free to move around so that you're comfortable. Okay, so I'm pitching forwards. I've got this nice diagonal line. I can see it in the mirror. So for this particular position, this knee will come a little bit more forwards than we normally would do, but essentially nice deep bend there and then lifting. And into that bend. So think about hinging over that hip, over the standing leg hip, and bending the knee and fully straightening the leg. Put your hands on your torso, check that spine is staying in the same shape. No change. Once we start to get tired, starting to feel it on this leg already, you will skip bits, like you'll skip the full deep bend. You'll only bend halfway. Try and go all the way through it. Try and fully straighten that leg. It's tough on the balance. Hips and shoulders are square. Keep going if you can. So I'm starting to feel some strong work again. Going back to my hips. My tissue box, my rectangle, square with the top of my yoga mat. That's again another nice thing, having the yoga mat. Okay, 3 more. 1, 2, fully straighten. 3, fully bend, hold it here. Elbows out to the side, lift and lower that leg. Hopefully you're going to feel those buttocks switching on a little bit. There's no change in the pelvis. Pelvis isn't arching and flattening, isn't tilting. It's all muscle work in those glutes. Standing leg is on fire because that's having to keep you still. The working leg is also half on fire because of the work we just did, but because it's also lifting your leg and lowering your leg. Couple more. and holding it there, and we're taking our rotation just of the ribs and opening out just of the ribs and the arms and the shoulders. 2 and 3. Last one, towards that leg. Don't let that hip open out when you turn it round. Hands. Oh gosh. That was me, that was really tough. Whew. I'm just going to let that ease off a bit while I put my mat back to square. And let's try that figure of 4 stretch on the other side, so crossing the ankle over. Noticing for me, this is my, I always remember this afterwards, but this is my tighter side for my hip. Weaker side on one leg standing, but tighter on the actual hip itself. So that feels really tight now. Lifting the chest, sticking the bottom out, just allowing this knee to drop down, foot and ankle nice and relaxed. Remember to lift the chest, just try it. If you collapse over, you've had enough, nice rounded back, totally ineffective as far as the stretch goes. If you can, stick your bottom out, lift your chest, bend that standing knee a bit more. Make sure your knees are going over your toes. I'm looking in the thing, I can see I'm in a quite a turned out position. It doesn't matter because my knees are over my toes. I'm not collapsed in there. I'm turned out both legs. Well done. Okay, good job. So, okay, let's go to some nice stretches. Let's stretch out those glutes a little bit. So I'm going to start facing this way and then we're going to turn sideways. So let's take the legs wide, insteps parallel for a hip hinge all the way forwards. Finding that biting point for your hamstrings, making sure the weight is pitched forwards onto the balls of your feet so that you can tap both heels, maybe then coming up again. And then hinging forwards. Keeping those shoulders nice and square. And remember, if you let your arms hang, it's a door frame, it's not a rounded arch. Shoulder tips lifted. And coming up. One more of those. Breathing. Hopefully with each one of these stretches, by the time you've gone into it the 3rd time, it should have eased off a little bit. Breathe, relax, bend your knees, relax your upper body down, let your head hang down. Just walk your fingertips forwards and hold it there. The head is down, ears close to your biceps. If you just take your head from side to side, I'm going to drop my hips down a little bit more. I'm going to try and reach my fingertips a bit further forwards and just lengthen the spine. Hold it there and breathe. Think of the length of the spine out through the crown of your head and then in the opposite direction out through your tailbone. And breathe, nice deep breaths. And then we're just going to walk the hands forwards a little bit. I'm basically just putting my weight onto my hands, bringing my shoulders over my hands, fingers and thumbs spread far apart, over my hands with the shoulders. I've brought my hips with me, my heels have come up, and then I'm just going to push back again. And then walking forwards a little bit. So I call this a short downward dog. It's just really to get your shoulders awake, taking the weight through the shoulders a little bit. Brilliant. And then walk the hands back. Let's straighten the legs this time. And now take seesaw hips. So your hips dropping from side to side. Quite a strong stretch in the groin, the inside thigh, hamstrings maybe, but not a very big movement. Make sure you're going equally, both sides. You might find that you can happily go to one side and then you think you're going to the other side, but actually you've just come back into the middle. Equal both sides. And then let's take those feet wider. Really wide, I'm almost as wide as my yoga mat, and we're going to stretch from side to side. I've got my weight, my hands underneath my shoulders now, so they're supporting the weight going through my legs as I squat from side to side. Toes have gone out to the corners, knees are going over the toes every single time. Try and keep the feet flat, so don't let the outside edge of your foot come off. Keep the feet flat, so then you're moving in the ankle joint. We want that whole range of movement. Want it available to us all the time. And then let's turn around to one side. If you had your legs wide enough, you pretty much should be in the correct position. This knee behind or above this front ankle. Hand down on the floor, underneath that shoulder. Let's lift up to the ceiling. Try and touch the ceiling, and then thread the needle through. We'll do 3 of these. We'll do 3 more of these actually. You can put that back knee down if you need to. Up to the ceiling and thread through. 2 more. Up to the ceiling, threading through. Get that rotation in your spine. Last one. I think I did an extra one there, never mind. Threading all the way through. And then last stretch here. Put that knee down, relax that back foot, lift your chest, drive these hips forwards. Stretching at the front of the hip. Really so important to counteract all of that sitting we do every single day. Brilliant. And then your hands go down onto the floor to support you again. Your legs should pretty much be in the correct position to swap round and do all of that on the other side. I'm going to turn my mat over this way a bit. So we're here. The knee can be down if you want to, otherwise the hand underneath the shoulder and that back knee off. We're lifting up and then threading the needle through. I'm bending my arm a little bit so that I can stretch through. So back knee can be down, absolutely not a problem. Try and just get the rotation around the spine. 1 more, last one. Breathing all the way through. I'm trying to open up a little bit more as I go up to the top there. And then dropping that knee down, lifting the chest. Relaxing the back foot, almost taking even more of a back lift here. Basically trying to almost tuck that pelvis under. It won't go anywhere, but it will just increase the stretch. And breathing. Fantastic, well done. Okay, we've got some all fours work. Rest of the class is down onto the floor. I'm going to move both of my monitors. So if you would like to move you need to move your laptop or something, then please do. Going down a little bit with that one. A little bit with that one today. There we go. Okay, so let's take a shoulder width apart, roll down, and we're going to come down onto all fours on the floor. So chin onto the chest, round that back, keep that pelvis in neutral, knees are soft, arms are hanging, shake the arms, shake the head as you go down, unravel the spine. Hopefully that should feel relatively comfortable now. Walking out one hand at a time. Challenge yourself if you want to by coming into the plank. We're going to be coming back there in a moment. Holding that there, and then lower both knees with control all the way down. Good, so today's movement on all fours, we're going to look at isolating the thigh bone in the hip socket. So from all fours, just watch a moment for me. So if you can, this is the more advanced version, and then I'll show you the slightly easier version. So if you can, we're going to lift the knees off, we're going to do that, we're going to hold the knees off, we're going to hold that position anyway for a moment. Then we're going to straighten out one leg, straighten out the second leg into the plank. Holding the plank, I'm going to release one knee, and then I'm just going to circle that knee. It's a bit of a weird thing. The other, and then change direction, 4 or 5 circles, and then return, and then try the other side. Circling, it's my goal, and circling is to keep my hips, my body absolutely still, and then coming in, and lower if we can. So we'll do that at least, we'll do it twice, both sides each time. The alternative, the easier alternative, is to be from all fours, to release the knee and just circle here without lifting up, without leaning over, no change, no distortion. The weird thing is trying to keep your foot relaxed. You'll want to join in with it and lift it off. And if you're doing this easier version, I would like you to put the opposite hand on your chest while you're doing it. So crisscross muscles are all working really hard. But before we go there, perfect, all fours, square box position. Here we go, curl those toes under, hold it here. Just breathing, keep the back of the head and neck lifted, slide the shoulder blades down in the back, connect your rib cage to your hips. You've drawn your belly button towards your spine. You've switched on your pelvic floor a little bit. Whoops, and I've just dribbled on the floor. So we're holding that there. Top crown of the head is lengthening forwards, tailbone is lengthening in the opposite direction, holding it there, spreading the fingers and the thumbs far apart, digging those fingertips into the mat a little bit, and then lowering. So you could, if you wanted to, just stay with that exercise. That's absolutely fine. If you can, go with me. So we're curling those toes under again, we're lifting the knees off. We're straightening one leg, straightening the second leg into the plank. If you're staying on all fours, you're releasing one knee, you're circling the knee. 4 or 5 in each direction. Everything else stays still. Swap legs. If you're on all fours, you're putting the opposite hand onto your chest. Quite quick circles, but you're trying to relax, bringing that leg back in to all fours, lift and then lower the knees. One more each side, here we go. Lifting the knees off, straightening the legs, straightening the leg. And start with the other leg if you can. Circling quite fast, everything else is staying still. Change direction. Woo, lifting the back of that head and neck, swapping legs. Hips stay still, the foot is relaxed. Foot and lower leg are completely relaxed. It's weird, straighten it up. Bring one knee in and the other knee and lower. And relax. Onto your haunches, hips back on your heels and your elbows, and just give those arms, hands, even wrists a good old twirling around and a scrunching. Brilliant. We've got a tough abdominal section, but it goes quite quickly. So lying down on your backs. So find your base position, find your neutral spine. The whole way through we're going to work in a neutral, so you want the natural curves in your lower back, pubic bone, hip bones on the same plane, collarbone nice and open. We will be doing some abdominal curls halfway through, but we're going to start, let's just place the hands, hands nice and flat, fingertips together on the hip bones, elbows on the floor. I'm going to use the leg closest to you. We're going to start with just a knee fold. We're going to do a knee fold with this leg most of the time. We're going to keep using the same side, and then we're going to swap sides. So the first movement, I only want you to do 5 or 6 of each movement, and trust me, by the end you won't want to do any more than that. So we're here, you're going to lift this leg into the perfect knee fold and point the foot. The foot is only slightly higher than the knee is directly above the hip, and then you're lowering. Just lifting and lowering, pointing the foot, extending the ankle. 3 more. Checking with your hands, with your elbows, Put your hands elsewhere on your torso. Everything is switched on here. Now I'm going to add, this knee fold is going to happen at the same time as a leg slide on the other leg. And as I slide that leg along the mat, and when I get to the end, I'm going to flex the foot. So I've got pointed foot at the top, flexed foot on the floor, bringing the leg back in. Don't bring it in so that it rucks up your mat, but equally don't lift it off because that would be too hard. Just slightly hover it to come back in. Repeat the same side, leg slide, knee fold 5 more times. And 4. Get those feet and ankles working, hitting the positions, be nice and accurate. 1 more. And we're here. We're going to do that same movement. Both legs are doing exactly the same thing. You're now adding an abdominal curl. Hands are interlaced at the back of the head. Elbows are forwards. We are here. Clearing the shoulder blades. And release. If you want to take the breathing, breath out as you come up. Breath in as you lower. When you lower, don't relax. There's no relaxing in this exercise until we're done. Till we're done on this one side at least. I think there's 1 more. Really want my pelvis to stay nice and even. We're going to continue with the knee fold, the leg slide. We're going to add a leg extension at the top. Leg extension, leg slide. That's the one. This foot stays pointed. This knee can be there if your hamstrings are tight, ideally 90 degrees. Bend everything in and lower. Here we go. Knee fold, leg slide and leg extension. And coming back in. Clearing the shoulder blades each time. Keeping that torso switched on. You haven't got time to unravel it each time, to let everything relax every time you lower. Last one, we're staying up. We're twisting towards this leg. We are flexing that foot as we lower. Imagine you're touching big toe of the other foot, but the legs are apart. Lifting up and coming back in. Knee fold, leg slide. Extend, twist and rotate. My left shoulder blade, this one is still off of the mat. Lower, point to lift and come back in. And knee fold, leg slide, extension, rotate, hold it there. Flex, point to lift. 3 more sets. Here we go. I'm not finishing off the movement very well. Rotate. From here. In and lower. 2 more. Rotate. Hold it there. Keep those hips still. And point to lift. Last one. Last one of this side. Rotate. Hold it there. Keep that shoulder blade cleared. Pointing that foot. Bending in and away. And breathe. Let your knees just loll from side to side a moment. Let the head roll from side to side. Okay, all on the other side. So revel in the joy and the simplicity and the ease of this first part of the exercise. So elbows are on the floor, fingertips are touching the hips, chin tucked in, back of the neck nice and long. We've just got plain and simple. Knee fold and lower. Knee directly above the hip. Maybe lift your head up, have a little look. Foot slightly higher than the knee. Sometimes I lift my foot too high. I want to be really accurate there. Make sure legs are in line with the hips, not too low. I'm going to add my leg slide now. Pointed foot in the air, flexed foot along the floor, and return. I'm checking with my hands and my elbows that there's no change. 2 more. Really nice and accurate. No tilting or rocking and rolling in this pelvis. Accurate with the feet. Let's place the hands at the back of the head. 6 abdominal curls with those same legs. Abdominal curls, remember, clear your shoulder blades. But there's no change in the shape of that lower back. Two more. Remember that head is heavy in your hands. Elbows are forwards. There's no strain on my neck. All the strain is going on in my abdominals. I'm adding my leg extension now. And lowering. Making sure I clear those shoulder blades every single time. Trying not to shorten on one side. It's easy to want to shorten on that side with the leg lifted in the air. Try and keep both sides level. Lost count on this side, I think. Let's take one more. And this time let's hold the leg up, rotate, flex the foot as you lower, keep those hips still, point to lift and bending in. 5 more. Here we go, leg slide, knee fold, extend, rotate, hold it there, flex to lower, point to lift, return and lower. 4 more. I'm starting to just melt everything into one movement. I need to be more accurate. 3 more sets. Here, flexing that foot, extending, rotating, holding it before I go. 2 more. Completely lost count, to be honest. Oops. And holding that there, rotation, flex, point to lift, bend it in. Last one, definitely the last one. Extend, rotate, hold, flex, lower, lift, and oh, a little extra bonus of a flexing the foot on the end there. And again, let those legs roll from side to side. Whew. Breathe. Let your head just gently roll from side to side as well, in the opposite direction to your knees. Great, and let's turn onto your sides. We're going to take some inside thigh work. So, nice straight line. You're going to get your top leg out of the way by bringing the foot forwards, but don't let this knee drop down and relax onto the floor. It needs to be up. Well, basically your hips need to be stacked. If that knee's forwards, hips aren't stacked on top of each other. You want to be there because it changes the muscles that you're going to use in the underneath leg. So that underneath leg, beautifully straight in your straight line. Imagine you was just standing on this one leg. And we're working with a really flexed foot at right angles to the floor, and you're really thinking about lifting and lowering along that inside seam of the underneath leg. My waist, I'm trying to keep my waist from dipping. Every time you lift that leg up, if you let your pelvis join in with the movement, you will lose your waist each time. Just keeping that still. So I'm making the muscles do the job as opposed to the bones joining in and other muscles joining in essentially. Very important, all the strength, stability, stamina in the inside thigh and groin. We don't do it anywhere near enough. We're working one half of the pelvic floor. Keep the rib cage connected down. Let's hold that leg up in the air, up as high as you can. We're going to take 20 little pulses up towards the ceiling. Here we go. 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3,
2, 1, and hold there if you can. Join the other leg to it, flexing both feet. Take the arm, top arm up to the ceiling. Just make a soft fist here, just 3 times. You're going to lower that arm towards the floor and then back up again, slowly. You could probably do this really quickly, but take it slow. Keep that connection, feel that crisscross connection from your inside thigh on that underneath leg. You need to try and keep your hips stacked as well. Last time, slowly lowering. I'm not allowing this arm to touch the floor, I'm not allowing my shoulder to roll forwards. And up to the top. Bend those knees in, twiddle around to the other side. Here we go. So get this top leg out of the way. If you've got a cushion handy or something quite solid there, you could just rest your knee on that. But for the moment, I'm just going to keep my foot nice and relaxed. So don't have any tension in that leg. Make sure this is in your straight line as if you're standing on it. Make sure that foot is nice and the foot is flexed and at a right angle. No curly feet. Here's a curly foot. Ooh, none of those. I'm going to just test with this hand that I'm not losing my waist every time I lift the leg up. So the pelvis isn't tipping each time. I'm using the muscles. It's hard work. Thinking about not collapsing this head on my ear on this arm, lengthening out through the crown of the head. Keeping my connection here, keeping the shoulders and the hips stacked. Lifting and lowering as far as you can. As always with these things, you might find it's a little bit easier one side than the other. And again, I'm not giving you a number, I'm just feeling roughly where my level of fatigue is. Probably about there now, I've had enough. So we're going to hold that leg up all the way to the top. 20 pulses, here we go. 20, 19, 18, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Placing that other leg on top, flexing both feet. Taking the arm up to the ceiling, just making a soft fist so that you're just adding a tiny little bit of ballast, but also I just want you to be aware it's not a really strong stretched out arm, it's just a soft fist. Heighten your awareness, and I can really feel more than ever now that connection to that inside thigh. From this top shoulder all the way across the body. Keeping the hips stacked, just one more. Slowly with control, feeling all those very subtle adaptations there. Woo, lowering those legs down and bending your knees in, sitting yourself up. We're going to lie on our tummy to finish off. A couple more exercises. A bit of back extension and then a big upper body movement. I'm just going to move my mat over this way a little bit. Just watch me first before you lie down so that you can see what we're going to do. We're going to have our hands here and we're just going to start. I'm just going to whiz you through the 3 stages. So the first stage is just back of head and neck. So I'm just lifting the back of my head and neck so that it becomes in line with my shoulders. Next stage is here. I call this a quarter cobra. My bottom 3 or 4 ribs are still on the mat. Then we've got a half cobra. I've come up onto my elbows a little bit, but my last ribs are just brushing the mat, and then we're going to come up into a full cobra all the way up. So starting and just stopping wherever you feel comfortable. So hands at the side, connect your rib cage to your hips. Tuck those elbows in a little bit. Just bring your shoulders down and back slightly. Open up the legs to hip width apart, push the pubic bone into the mat, just rock from side to side, loosen up the hips a little bit, make sure there's no tension at the front of the hips. And then all we're doing, tip of the nose is touching the mat, the floor, and then just lifting up a tiny bit. It really isn't very far. Try and be very aware of the back of your neck and the top of your t-shirt, where I've got a t-shirt on today. That I don't want to lift that bit. I only want to lift my head so that it gets in line, it becomes in line with that part. Now I'm going to lift a bit further. So I'm lifting that first bit, head in line, and now I'm just using my muscles in my back to, I'm thinking of pulling my chest forwards a little bit. Pushing my pubic bone into the mat, and then lowering all the way down again. No, there's no weight through my hands or my elbows at the moment. So all 3 or 4 of the lower ribs, the ribs that part at the front, they're still in contact with the mat. Breathing. Maybe, let's go up a little bit higher now. Breathing out as you come up. Breathing in as you lower. Maybe just normal, regular breathing. I like to breathe out as I come up for any back extension, and then breathe in as I lower. Otherwise I find that I breathe in. If I breathe in as I come up, I tend to hold the breath at the top and then collapse everything. I'd like you to just try and breathe in the opposite way to your natural way. Breath out, having that sense of extension, and then when you breathe in and lower, it's more of a conscious thing. It's not just a collapse. Okay, so I'm ready to try and straighten my arms a little bit more now. You don't have to come all the way up to here. You could just bring those elbows off a little bit. See how you go. Try and lift the elbows up last and lower the elbows down first. So we're lifting and lowering. I'm letting my hips come off now. And in fact, if you want to go a little bit higher, bring your hands back a bit more and tuck those elbows in a bit more. So now I haven't got my hips on the floor at all. Have a sense of lifting out through the crown of the head when you lower. A great alternative would be just to stay here. Or maybe I should have said that at the beginning of that exercise. But if you've had enough of that and you just want to try a little bit more of the Sphinx, which is one of the things to do every day, thinking of pulling that chest through. Good job. Okay, well done. Finishing off with this lovely movement. I think it's a lovely movement. You can take it as small or large as you like. So the basis of it is like it's a sit bone circle. So let's just go here. So up on all fours, tucking that pelvis under, taking the weight forwards, so the shoulders go past your fingertips, bending the arms a little bit, and then reaching back with the bottom. So you tuck under, so this is called pelvic circles. You lower, you reach back. And then you can reverse it. So you go down, you swoop down, and then you tuck under. So that's pelvic circles, making it all quite big. I'm going to take, I call this a snake-thru, don't quite know why, but my knees are nice and wide, my feet are quite wide as well, my hands are wide. I'm going to try and slide along the floor, brushing my chin along the floor, and you could just come down onto your tummy here. From there, you're lifting up into that full cobra position, if you can and or you want to. From there, you're lowering back down again. The full movement is to lead back with your hips. But if that doesn't look like something that you're going to be able to do today, you can just push up and lift your hips back and take your hips back onto your heels. And then I'd like you to add on rolling up, coming to a kneeling rolled up position. So just rolling up through the spine and then going again. Chin goes down onto the chest. You walk the hands out. You take the weight through those hands. My elbows are just out to the side. Chest brushes the floor on the full version if you can. You lift all the way up to that full cobra. You lower, hovering if you can, You lift those hips to push all the way back and then keep moving. Roll the fingertips back and roll up through. One more of those if you can. Roll under, all the way through, up to the top, lower down, rolling back, unravel. And there you go. Great job everyone, well done. Come on to all fours, feet and knees really nice and wide, curl those toes under, lift the hips up, push the chest back through the arms for a wide-legged downward dog. Maybe just sway from side to side. Walk the hands back to the feet. Legs are bent, feet are parallel, insteps are parallel. Roll up through the spine, unravelling all the way. Well done. Thank you so much if you joined me for a second Pilates A of the week, and I will look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you.